please be attentive to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, to which is referred House Bill 1620 FN, an act relative to suspending the issuance of new landfill permits under 2031. Having considered the same, the committee recommends that the bill is inexpedient to legislate by a vote of 3 to 1. Senator Pearl for the committee.
Senator Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1620 FN, inexpedient to legislate. This bill proposes the suspension on the approval of new landfill permits by the Department of Environmental Services until 2028. This bill aims to address concerns related to landfill capacity, out-of-state waste management, and the need for comprehensive rulemaking. During the hearing, stakeholders highlighted the need for careful planning and consideration of long-term implications, including potential court challenge and the rewriting of landfill rules. Additionally, the Department of Environmental Services raised concerns about economic impacts and regulatory complexities of the bill. Given the diverse perspectives and complexities involved, the Energy and Natural Resources Committee asks for your support to move House Bill 1620 FN inexpedient to legislate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Pearl. The motion is
of the motion of inexpedient to legislate. I appreciate my colleagues' work on the bill. HB 1620 is a bill that will suspend the issuance of new landfill permits until July 1st, 2028. This is a reasonable change to our waste management process that will pause the landfill permitting, giving the state the opportunity to gather information and make informed decisions before proceeding with the approval of another landfill. With this pause, the Department of Environmental Services will still be able to accept and investigate applications for landfill permits in order to prepare them for the future, while taking the necessary time to thoughtfully work through the 10-year rulemaking update surrounding landfill permitting. Getting the rules surrounding landfill permitting rights is something we, as a state, must prioritize. Every day we find ourselves producing solid waste that must then go somewhere. Our landfills are a vital part of our way of life and economy, but they are not without their dangers or negative impacts to our state. We should be looking at ways to reduce our dependency on landfills. As waste degrades in our landfills, they result in long-term environmental impacts. Water contamination, soil contamination, and more can result from the landfill construction and subsequent use. And once a site becomes a landfill, it will remain that way forever. This reality impacts not only our ecosystems, but also on our own health and well-being. It is vital that we act in a proactive manner when it comes to our waste management, and not simply a reactive or passive one. Our state depends on not only providing clean water and a healthy environment for our residents, but also protecting our interests and dependence on tourism that relies on a healthy ecosystem. Finally, we heard testimony that the state has the capacity to manage our solid waste for the next 10 years without expanding the number of landfill permits the state issues. Therefore, implementing this moratorium will provide us the time we need to develop sound and proactive waste management policies while still meeting the waste management needs of our state. I ask that you join me in voting down the motion of ITL so that another motion can be made. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Fenn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise against this motion of inexpedient to legislate and wish to point out to my colleagues that 2.2 million tons of trash has been taken in New Hampshire from most of which, well, not most of which, but 47% of which comes from out of state. 47% of all the trash that we process comes from out of state, and only 3 to 5% of the trash that we generate goes out. So we have 47% of the trash coming in and only 3 to 5% going out. And when a community is evaluating whether they are going to whether they're going to have a landfill built, they have to ask the question not if this landfill will leak, but when will it leak, because they all do. We don't have technology that prevents leakage from landfills. And we don't need, in New Hampshire, we don't need a landfill until 2030. We are actually good until 2030. And other states around us have already begun to limit the amount of trash that comes into their state, but we don't. So we are becoming the trash magnet. And is that what we want to do? We want to become the trash magnet for all of New England? I don't think so. I don't think that's what we want. I don't think that's a good sell to our communities. Like, hey, why don't we take in the trash from Massachusetts from now until the end of time? So I urge you to vote against this inexpedient to legislate so another motion can be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Altshuler. The motion is inexpedient to legislate. Is there any further discussion? Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too wanted to rise, colleagues, to express opposition to the pending motion. And just to add briefly, I mean, why a moratorium now? You know, why do we need to do it now? And that really was the question we asked 2 years ago when we passed a moratorium out of this body, because we had a feeling that there's so much uncertainty about solid waste and what we should be doing about a host of issues that we probably ought to take this pause. And the timing is right because we can take this pause right now. And we have asked the Department of Environmental Services through a 10-year plan to think about waste reduction. The terrific work, our colleague from District 12 on the Solid Waste Committee has brought forward a lot of good ideas. And you, Mr. President, you know, over the last few years, we really tried to work this. And we know some big changes are coming. We see the state of Maine is going to go to extended producer responsibility. That has passed. It's going to be rolling out, you know, very, very shortly. We have a chance to see what's going on over there. The out-of-state trash thing is really serious. The other states are banning it or completely closing their landfills, and so where's it going to go? Now, they're probably being more aggressive on source reduction. And then the other side of it is plastics and PFAS. You know, we're just not recycling any plastic. It's just going into landfills, and we know now that that's really bad news. So what the moratorium would do, and it doesn't affect expansion of existing landfills, and we've got some time, but it would say, okay, we know we're going to do some major changes in our waste management over the next few years. So let's take this time to do that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Waters. The motion is inexpedient to legislate. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the question is on adoption of the committee recommendation of inexpedient to legislate. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The motion of inexpedient to legislate is adopted.